What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Without further ado, let's go straight to it. So Rachel Nichols, for those who don't know or forgot, she was the face of ESPN NBA coverage for, I think she was there for 5 years. She would also sit down and do interviews with NBA stars. She covered the NBA playoffs as well as finals. And she was also the host of the show called The Jump. But her show was canceled last year after it was reported that she had made some disparaging comments about Mariah Taylor, who at the time was her colleague at ESPN. Rachel Nichols recently made her first public interview, basically retelling her part of the story. She was on the All Smoke podcast, which is hosted by former NBA players Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, who ironically used to work with her on her show The Jump. So this is what Rachel Nichols had to say about the whole situation.
I mean, look, it all started really good a few years ago. We can go back to 2019, 3 years ago. ESPN gave me a new contract. I'd already been there with The Jump. And in the contract was that I was going to host the NBA Finals. And you guys have known me for years.
Yes.
I have covered the sport for decades. The idea that I was going to host the NBA Finals, that
Everything
was
to you.
my dream job.
That was going to be your first time
That
doing
was
it?
going to be my first time doing it. It meant the world. I mean, I called every executive involved personally to thank them. I mean, I was so excited. They put everything in writing in the contract. They put out a big press release about it. One of the things I asked for in the contract was that any pregame show I did would be a continuation of our daily show, The Jump, because it was something we started together. I was so proud of. And so I thought making that distinction would really help things.
What changed on how you felt in the workplace?
Well, things got complicated later that season. Y'all know it was 2020, right?
Yeah,
So
the world was
we had a pandemic.
crazy spot.
There was the tragic murder of your friend, George Floyd. A lot of difficult conversations with this country looking itself in the face, seeing what had to change and be different. And the New York Times did an expose in July of 2020 on racism at ESPN and the lack of opportunities for people of color. And the executives at ESPN said what I think people would expect, all the right things about we'd like to give more people more opportunities, we're continuing to grow, all of those things. And around the same time, I got a phone call asking me, would I step aside for Maria to host the NBA Finals and have me go back to being a sideline reporter? And they stressed it was my choice. They weren't telling me to do this because it was in my contract, but they were putting a lot of pressure on me. You know, I was being told, well, you're not a team player. And at this time, I was also getting ready to leave for the bubble and went down there. And it was a different set of equipment than I had been using to broadcast at home. So my very first day, I'm there, I'm using the new equipment. And I didn't know that if you leave a particular app running in the background, that the line from my hotel room, looking into my hotel room to Bristol, would stay open. So I thought I was done for the day. I did the things you would do on your first day in a hotel room. I spent hours unpacking, called my husband, talked to my kids, called some friends, called my doctor. And unfortunately, that entire time, nobody back at ESPN told me that there was an open line to my hotel room and anyone who looked at the feed could see me. No one shut it off, decided, oh, she clearly doesn't know she's being watched unpacking or doing all these other things. And at least one person decided to just sit and watch and started spying on me like I was their own personal television show. And when they heard something they thought was juicy, they picked up their cell phone and they started recording my conversation on their cell phone.
I actually see where she's coming from. You know, when she was initially fired from ESPN, I genuinely thought it was the wrong decision simply because the audio of her that got leaked online was misinterpreted by a lot of people. You know, I remember Twitter going crazy. People wanted her to get canceled, to lose her job. And some were even calling for Malika Andrews to take her spot. Now, the timing of Rachel Nichols' interview, it's very interesting. It's very interesting, you know, because the people who were crying online for her to lose her job last year are the same one out here asking for her to replace Malika Andrews. I mean, make that make sense. Just a complete 360 move. A complete 360 move. As I mentioned earlier, Rachel Nichols did not deserve to lose her job. People were just so quick. Well, not people, I'm gonna say social media. Social media was so quick to jump to conclusions, and the person ESPN initially replaced her with ended up leaving anyways, which unfortunately prompted ESPN to appoint Malika Andrews, who, to be fair, is not well respected by a lot of NBA players alone.
Malika Andrews, ESPN. For both of you guys, I'm curious, you guys have talked a lot about how at this point, sometimes it takes experience. I'm wondering if now that you have some of that experience, if you see more validity to that point, or what you think about that now that you've gone through it.
I'll just end it with this. Most of the time it's good to just throw whatever agenda you have to the side and do your judgment based on the person's character, not their skin color, not their gender or social class. Personally, I know I wouldn't, feel good if I knew that I was hired by a company based on my race. I mean, I'll be happy in the moment, but in the long run, bro, I'll feel used and abused, to be honest. Case point, Mariah Taylor, who did not even last a year in a new role on ESPN. I am glad that Rachel Nichols got to speak her part of the story, and she's got her own thing going around that as well, working with Showtime Sports. But ESPN's gotta get their ish together. Yes, they will always have the better numbers in terms of viewerships, but losing talented guys like Skip Bayless or a Colin Cowherd or even a Rachel Nichols could be a difference between taking ESPN to the next level or keeping it stagnant as it has been for the past few years. Anyways, guys, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about what Rachel Nichols had to say. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.